All right, traders, welcome to the official AMA for the all-new Mega Bar Algo. Glad to be here with you. Hopefully you guys are having a great day so far. We're going to dive in and go over details on how to use the algo, how to optimize the algo, how to get the most out of it. So that's our agenda for today. And so let's go ahead and get started here. So as you know, we can't guarantee results. Products and services are for educational purposes. Please understand the risks of trading. Cool. So Jeff did a little update for us on the trailing runner settings for ES. That looked pretty good over the last couple of days. Today especially looks really good. So we'll go over that too and cover some details on the settings and so on. So good deal. Let me go ahead and just get out of this, and let's go ahead and pull over a chart. And let's take a look at what this thing can do. I'll just move this out of the way for now. All right. Zoom into this order and we'll take a closer look at this with our settings and go over the details here. So let's pull up another mega bar. The reason I do this is so that we can actually see what we're looking at. So let's go through the settings to start, and then we can look at, going through an optimization of sorts on maybe a different market or something that you guys want to review. So as of right now, it looks like we've just got the equities. Maybe we can look at crude or gold or something like that, kind of open to suggestions as far as that goes. But cool. So extended range candle, ERC, stands for extended range candle, the body percentage. What this means is on the signal candle, let me make this a little smaller. There we go. And grab a draw tool. Okay. So on the extended range candle, what that means is it's a big candle. It's bigger than the average ATR, right? So here is our signal. Well, actually, this is our signal candle right here. So what this is saying is and the reason that this is not the candle is because this is an intrabar entry, meaning that when this bar closed, it put the entry as a stop order there. So, well, technically it's an entry anyway. It's like a stop order. It's technically not a stop order, but as soon as the market gets to this point, it enters the trade. Okay, so this is where the market had to get to for us to enter that trade. This is the bar. So the mega bar is really large candle is the best way to look at it. This is telling us what percentage of that bar needs to be body of the bar. Really, I've kept it at like 50% as a rule. Most of these candles, most of the time, not always, but most of the time, these candles are going to close at their high or their low anyway. So most of the time they are mostly body. But this can restrict, like, obviously if this was a mega bar right here, that would not qualify as the minimum 50% body. Obviously this one would, right? So that's what that is doing. Max allowed pre-entry bars. This is saying how many bars after this bar is created are you allowed to have before the market enters. So let's say you have, we'll use this as an example. You got a big bar. Let's say the entry order is, I don't know, way down here. What this is saying is this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars. It still hasn't swept the low. So this would not qualify if it's set to 1, meaning that has to break the point of entry within a bar. Okay, so that's what that setting is doing there. Entry offset is telling the system how far above the high of this bar do we need to get before we can enter the market. Okay, so right now, let's pull up the actual settings so we can see what this one's doing. Let's do this one. Yeah, so this is saying we have up to 7 bars to get into a trade, which is pretty liberal, frankly. It's giving a good amount of time to get into the trade. And then entry offset is 3 ticks. So this is placing the order requirement 3 ticks above the high of that bar. Okay. Max size type, ATR or ticks. Obviously, ATR is average true range. The period for the ATR, you can set that to whatever your heart's delight. If you want it to be 5 or 50 or anything in between, whatever you want it to be. You can also optimize for that. So whatever you want to do there. Extended range minimum size 1.43. That is very, very detailed. 1.43. What that's saying is, let's say we had this at 1. We'll just make it easy for the sake of this. If we had this set to 1 ATR, what this is saying is that the extended range candle has to at least be 1 time the ATR in order to be considered a mega bar. You might even want to set it to something like 1.5 if you really want to only trade the largest bars and that kind of thing. So you can do that as well. Again, you can change the period on that so that, if you want it to be anything that stands out over the last 25 bars or anything that's, whatever you want it to be. Of course, it's going to be average of the past X amount of bars. Max size. Why on earth would you have a max size? Well, what about CPI? What about FOMC releases? You can get a really, really big bar. And what this is doing is it's keeping you away from trades that are going to be really massive trades that just don't really make sense. There's a point where, yeah, we want really big bars, but we don't want it to get too extreme on us. And so that would ultimately limit the size that you're allowed to trade based on that bar. Okay. Good so far. Everything makes sense so far. You guys with me? Just want to make sure I, keeping track of everyone here and making sure you guys are good to go and I'm not talking to myself. Anybody? Bueller? Am I still here? Can you still hear me? Hello? Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks, Frank. Just making sure. Okay, all good. Cool. All right. EMA, require EMA. This looks to be the EMA here. What is the EMA requirement? It needs to be above the EMA to go long. Needs to be below the EMA to go short. Okay. That's what that require EMA is doing. The EMA period, exponential moving average, of course. What is the period for the exponential moving average? So you can set that to whatever you like. 50 is a pretty big number, so it's really just going to be above average for the day or below average. Anyway, you can set that to whatever you like. Of course, you can optimize that as well. So that is the functionality of the actual systems and so on. And again, this is not being required on this setting. Yeah. So it's using a stepping average, actually, which is further down here. We'll get to that. But anyway, you can set it here as well to just be above a certain EMA. Now, why would you want to do that? If you're using the moving average filter, you might have it set to dual EMAs and dual moving averages. And let's say you've got dual EMAs and you've got it set to a 9 and a 20. What this is going to do is it's going to say that if your 9 is above the 20, it's okay to trade long, but you may want to have it, where the 9 is above the 20 and it's also above the 9 in order to trade. So what this is saying is that it will not take a signal unless your bar is closing above the 9. Okay. So that's what that's doing. And then obviously you have fixed cost, all of that, percent of balance, static entries. That is all in the brain training, which is in the members area. If you are brand new and you haven't watched that yet, please go and watch that so that you understand how all this stuff works. There's a lot of stuff to the engine of the algos, and you'll want to know that. So entry order type. And we're going to talk about this one in a minute here. We're going to come back to that, but let's keep going. What you want to know is, how do the stop losses work with the algo, right? So the stop is going to use either a percent of the range or ticks. And so let's go with percent of range first. You have a minimum and maximum stop requirement. Obviously on ES, it probably makes sense to trade eight ticks and above as a minimum. It's a good number. 84 is pretty large. So, you know, you're not going to probably see very many trades of that size anyway, not on this bar size, but that's available for you. Stop loss offset. So this is saying whatever your range is for this bar, let's say this bar is 10 ticks. I'm just going to use an even number to make it easy. So if this bar is 10 ticks, what this is saying is that it's going to set the stop at 6.2 ticks, which I suppose would be 7 ticks, below the low of that bar. Okay. So let's assume this is 10 ticks, and let's assume this is 7 ticks extra as a buffer to the stop. If you set it to 0, obviously it's going to be right here. If you set it to a negative number, it's going to put it inside the bar. So you do have that option as well. Of course, you can use percent or ticks, whatever you fancy. Percent of range is probably a good way to go. And 62, why that number? Well, it has to do with Fibonacci, right? It's a fib number. So that works. Let's go to ticks. Very simple. Again, minimum and maximum. How many ticks below the low do you want it to be? So in this case, if you set it to 8 ticks, it's going to put 8 ticks below that candle. Okay. How do you set EMA so that it goes long and short? Well, you have this option here to where you would have to be above the EMA to go long and then below to go short. If you don't want that, you just turn it off. You do also have the option that you can, if you go to the moving average filters, you can actually flip these numbers. Let's say you want to trade it as a reversal type. You just flip these numbers, 20 and then 9. And what's going to happen is now if the 20 is above the 9, it's going to go long instead of 9 above 20. So 20 is above the 9, we're going long. So what that would essentially look like would be like this. Let's say this is our 9, just bear with me here, and that's our 20. Our 20 is above the 9, so it's going to go long, even though we know that technically momentum is down. Okay, so that would be how you would do like a reversal type setup. Okay. So you do have that option, and we've done that before on other algos. This one, I don't know that it really makes sense to do that, so I'll save you some headache, but it's up to you, whatever you think. Target types, we got risk reward, ATR, or ticks. In this case, we have it set so that it is trailing. The way that we do that, you can set a target and still trail the stop. If you want it to just be a pure runner and not even have any target of any sort, you leave that as 0. And then in order to see, this is a quirk, it's a workaround, but in order to see your trailing stuff, you do need to disable the algo stop loss here. And then once you do that, then you'll see your trail requirements. So you have a break-even trigger, trail offset, trail trigger, and then number of bars back. So let's say, in this case, it's just saying that the trail trigger is 20 ticks. So once it gets to 20 ticks, which would have happened on this bar here, then it moves the stop up. Okay, so that is the threshold that it has to get beyond to start trailing. This is saying we're going to trail 3 bars back. So if it moved here, what this is doing is it's taking 1, 2, 3 bars back, and that's where it's trailing to the low. So that's how this is trailing. And you can do that, or you can use a trail tick offset. Let's say if you get to 20 and you just want to start trailing by 20 ticks, it's just going to keep going that every time you make a high water mark, it's going to bump it to 20 ticks below that high water mark. Okay. It's important to go over that on this algo, especially because my opinion, while it doesn't technically matter, sometimes I'm pretty smart about things, not always, but I really like this one with a trailing stop. The idea is if you are opening the floodgates, the best time to catch the wave is the moment that the floodgates are open. And you may want to keep riding that wave until it dissipates. In other words, go with it as long as it's going to take you. So personally, I really strongly believe that leaving a runner is a great idea on this algo. So that's my opinion. But of course, you don't have to trade it that way. You can just take a quick target, get out, whatever you want to do, however you want to trade it. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So trade it as you please. That's pretty much it as far as the settings go. Does this all make sense? Anybody have any questions on this? Only the last 5 bars for calc seems low. It depends. Depends on what you're looking for. I like using it as a 5 ATR because that's just what works for me. But you can set it longer. You can set it to 20 is probably a good number. 25 is a good number too. The thing is, like, here's kind of the theory on that.
Just optimize it.
Yeah, you can optimize it too, for sure. The idea is, like, if you're using a 5-bar sample, 1 bar standing out is going to give you more likely more setups. But then again, who knows? I don't know. You could look at this sample of bars and average that out, and I don't know. Anyway, yeah, see what works for you. That's just kind of my number, my go-to, because that's what I like. So I like really fast ATRs. But again, that's a preference thing. So cool. So this is short and sweet. There's not a lot to the settings, which is great. It's simple. It's easy to use. So here's another take on kind of best use case. I like it on volume bars. Why volume bars? Well, obviously you're not using range and Renko, so those are out, right? Range and Renko's, no, it's not going to work. You can use it on volume, you can use it on tick, and you can use it on time base bars. So anything with a variable range. Heikinashi and all that stuff I don't get into. So if you want to, knock yourself out. But so what is the best case scenario? Well, volume is telling us this is actually contracts executed. Right? Contracts executed. Time is time passed. So if you have a large range over a period of time, that doesn't take into consideration what the volume was over that time passed. But if you consider volume, and over the same amount of volume for each bar, you have a large range. What this is saying is that your volume is one-sided in that case, because you have a large range of movement with the same exact amount of volume. So that volume that came in on that bar was more impactful to one side versus the other. Does that make sense? That's why I think it makes sense to trade this on volume bars, because any of these bars that are standing out as a big bar, like something like that, that's more meaningful on a volume bar than a time. If you're using time-based bars, I would suggest using something over like a 5-minute or more. I think you'll probably have better results on that, but I'm not certain on that. But that would be my initial thoughts. Okay, so for what it's worth, let's go in and let's do an optimization together, and we'll look at how to optimize this thing so that moving forward. Does anybody have a market that they're dying to see and they want to go over looking at optimization? Give me a market that you guys might want to look at. CL? Cool. Let's look at CL. If we have time, I'd like to probably take a look at gold too, to be honest. We'll see if we get that far. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is we have kind of a fractal converter that I'm going to go look at and just see kind of fractals we should look at on a volume bar for crude. Looks like 1 minute volume is about 450 to 500. So we'll start there. All right. So first thing I'll do, I'm just going to go ahead and remove the algo altogether. And then we'll go to crude oil. Get rid of ES. And then let's start with 500. First thing I want to do is just really just look at the bars and just see what it looks like first. We'll see if data cooperates. I was having tons of issues with data this morning, to the point where I couldn't even trade this morning. And it's like the one Friday I had time to trade and I couldn't trade. I was kind of disappointed by that, but whatever. So here's a mega bar, right? We're just looking for the ones that stand out like sore thumbs. And then I'm looking to see, is there follow through on these bars? Obviously, in a downtrend, I'm looking at the down bars, not the up bars. Then we get chop, 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 break. We got a, reversal type bar coming here. Then we get a big bar there. This looks pretty good. This looks pretty fluid. It's not real choppy. There's some good opportunities coming in. Let's start with this and just see what we come up with. Okay, now we're going to add the algo. I always start with the chart. Again, this is just my way of doing it, to each their own, but I just start with the chart and I'm going to put in some assumptions. These assumptions are, what do I kind of want the algo to do? And then the algo is going to tell me what it wants to do. And we're going to meet somewhere in the middle because I'm not always right and neither is the algo. So we kind of both come together, right? So extended range body, I'm leaving at 50%. Max allowed pre-entry, I'm going to go with 3. Entry offset on crude, let's do 4. Actually, let's go 3. And then 5 ATR because that's what I like. Minimum size, we'll go with 1 to start because that is kind of the bare minimum number I'm going to use. I want to see all of the orders and then filter it from there. So always start wide and then narrow it down. Max size, I don't have a max. You're not going to get as many bars that stand out like a sore thumb. This setting is not going to be as impactful on a volume bar as it would be on a time bar. So you have a major release coming in at 8:30. That bar is going to be pretty huge. And so you may need to set that on that case. But on the, if you get a major news release on a volume bar, usually those bars aren't as big. Require EMA, yes. Let's go with let's go with an 8. Just actually, let's start with requiring it. Entry, long and short, static, 1 contract. Don't care about sizing the positions yet, so we'll leave it like that. Back test, enable algo stop loss. I'm going to turn it off so I can trail, and I'm going to go with a trail target of 15 and offset 15 to start. Target, I'm just going to use 15 to start. And then actually for stop, let's go ahead and re-enable algo stops. Minimum stop 10. Stop loss type, let's go percent of range. And let's keep it at 62. I kind of see wider stops to start. And then I'm going to leave this as ticks just so I can see what that range looks like on the targets first. Time 9:05, 5 minutes after the pit open. Let's go 10 minutes after just to be safe. And then we'll go till noon. And that's it. I'm not going to do any filters or anything like that yet, because again, I just want to see all of the orders first. All right. So back to the beginning. Let me do this first. Make my life a little simpler. Okay, so megabar, another megabar on the way up. Supposedly that was a megabar. So settle down now. So the first thing that I'm seeing here is this must have been a megabar here, entered there, but then what's the megabar in here? Like, I don't really see it, but we got an entry there. So that's a little too aggressive.
It's
So
your delay. It's that first bar, and then it doesn't cross the 3 tick offset until 3 bars later.
I'm talking about this order up here. Because this one entered off of this bar, which I see. But what is this entering off of? Like, these bars are pretty small, you know?
Oh yeah, it's pushing the entry after the other one closes. So one way you can reduce that is to reduce the number of bars you're giving it to enter after the mega bar.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you have for 3, you could set it to 0 or 1.
Yeah, we might need to do that. Because it looks like most of these are entering pretty much right away. This one entered 2 bars later.
I mean, it won't do anything until it hits the offset, the entry offset.
Yeah,
And if you're giving it several bars to enter, then it'll just enter as soon as the previous one closes. So that's why, but
right.
you can reduce that with that number from 3 down something lower.
Yeah, I'm going to make this bigger though too, because I want to see what it looks like with less opportunities. Let's go in there. Oops. Let's go back here. Yeah, so now I don't have any of those orders on the way up, only on the way down, which I'm not entirely against. Let's go look at the rest of the orders. This one, definitely a mega bar, right? Definitely on the right side of the market. The problem is you're trading into these lows. The algo's not going to know that. So you did get some pretty decent follow through, never quite made it far enough to get paid. And then getting some noise, trading in the noise. Cool. Yeah, good. The other thing I like to look at as I go is stops and targets. Am I getting in too early, too late? Are my stops and targets too big, too small? So that's kind of what I'm looking at here. Looking at this, the stop's pretty wide. This one stops pretty big, stops pretty big. So I can already tell that the stop's probably going to need to get tightened up a little bit. For my taste, I think it's a little too big. I'd rather get out sooner. If the trade's not going to work, just get me out of this thing, right? So let's kind of measure this out just because I'm curious. Let's go here. All right, so this stop is 54 ticks, and the size of the range was 32. By 32, so it's about 1.75. Yeah, so that's about right. Let's bring that number down. Let's see what we can come up with here. I'm going to set it to 30%. See what that looks like. Yeah, so it's a little tighter. It made it about 47. I still think we could probably tighten it up a little bit, but let's go look at some of the other trades before we decide. Yeah, these look pretty decent. Kind of like the stop placement, actually. Okay, so let's go in now and let's fine tune the targets a little bit. So we're going to go here and let's go risk reward 1 to 1. And let's turn off the trail for the time being. Cool. 1 to 1. Great. Move my thing over so I can just enable it from the other screen. There we go. Okay, this did not stop. Huh. Cool deal. Yeah, looks pretty good. And, obviously I'm not worried about um, money on the table just yet. I'm just kind of looking at what are the trades looking like? Are they good? Are they not good? Let's go into a smaller bar size. Let's look at 400. Faster bar size. I don't really like that too much. Let's try 450. Yeah, that looks pretty good. least over the short run, we're getting a little better now. So let's remove drawings. Okay, now what I'm going to do is let's look at it just as a runner and no target. So I want to see what that looks like. Is it giving us the big moves that we're looking for? Because that's really, like if I'm using this, that's kind of really what I want. I'm going to also loosen this up. Actually, let's go 3 bars back instead of using a specific numbered ticks.
By the way, Jim, you can use both the bars back and the offset together. So if it's together, then you're offsetting the bars back level.
Okay.
I mean, just so people understand that.
Yeah, I didn't know that actually. So something's not quite right. Enable algo stop loss. Let's turn that back on. There we go. All right, so let's go back to the beginning. So we had a decent one there, trailed, got out, decent one there. I think the trail's probably a little too tight. So apparently crude only trends overnight. That's a big move right there. No. All right, let's try a bigger trail first. Oh, I'm messing this up. Let's just go ahead and go to the strategy analyzer at this point. I think I have kind of somewhat of an idea what I'm looking for here. So let's get rid of the log for now and pull up Mega Bar. So just kind of get this set up and one market orders, fine. Let's disable this for now. Um, all right, I think that's kind of set up the way that we had it, and we're going to be on crude oil. Let's go with 450 volume. So I'm just going to start with 2 weeks. I want to start with the most recent 2 weeks so that it's um, more relevant to current markets versus a month ago, because a lot has changed actually in July, even from the first few weeks until now. And so I really want to focus on what's happening more recently first. So I've already got 108 trades to work with, which is pretty great over 2 weeks. So that's great. All right, so let's save this as a starting point. And let's go take a look at the chart. See, this I really like. This bar right here I think that that entry is actually little on the big side. I think we could probably get in sooner even. Um, yeah, let's tighten that up. Let's go to 3 ticks and then rerun it. Yeah, entries look better. Just looking at stops, initial stop placement, and then the trail is what I'm looking at right now. So I realize this is pretty hard to see. So once I get somewhere with it, I'll zoom in a lot so you guys can see. I'll zoom in a little for now. Good entry. I like where the stop's at. I think that's fine. Hmm. Uh, Interesting. Bear with me here for a second, guys. I want to see something. So just by changing this to a 1.1, we dropped 6 trades, but we dropped a ton of stop outs. So that helped considerably, funny enough. Let's go in and let's just start optimizing this. I think, I've got kind of what I'm looking to start with, and we can go in and optimize at this point. So let's go into Ninja Trader's weird, and we have to actually load the template and then go to optimize. And now we have our settings. So as far as what I'm looking to optimize, we'll just go to the summary. ERC body percent, I'm just going to leave it. It's not a big concern to me. This probably anywhere from 1 to 4. We can do 1 to 5 too. Entry offset ticks, I'm going to probably go with something a little tighter. Let's go like 3 to 6. I'll just leave it at 3 to 5 is fine. ATR, minimum size, and let's go anywhere from 1 to 1.5. 0.1. Let's test these against each other first, and then we can always come back through. Let's go max net profit, food commission. Let's do it. So we got about 90, so that's not too bad. That'll do. It's about another minute to go on that. We'll see what we come up with here. If they're on the same instrument, you probably don't want to run them together on the same account. Um, but you could run one on ES and one on MES and then one on MNQ. You could do that if you want. If you're trading prop, they won't let you trade long and short the same instrument, even on the micro to the full size. So don't try it, or they'll kick you out. So just be aware. So if you do get long, can you optimizing? Can you optimize more than one at the same time? Is that what you're asking? I'm sorry, I don't understand. Um, all right. So really nothing all that special going on here, right? So let's do this. Let's change this up a little bit. And instead of doing this, enable algo true. Let's set it to true. And we're gonna actually skip the runner and just go static targets to start with. Uh, we'll come back to that. Let's see, enable true. Okay. All right. Let's run it again. See what this does. Oh, I see what you're saying now, Curtis. Sorry about that. Run all the setting iterations at once instead of individual. You could if your PC is strong enough. You just would run them in different optimizations. You can optimize baskets in Ninja as far as instruments, but it takes a long time. So technically you can do that, but you have to be on the same time chart. So you really are stuck with using minute charts because the volume is different on each of the instruments. So it's not ideal. Once Tick blazes around, it's going to be awesome. There we go. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Let's take a look at the equity curve. Was good, good, good. Not great recently. So it's a little concerning. Today was not great. And the rest of the days were fine. Let's go to half hour. Pretty good. Set it to end at 11:59. So we can avoid maybe getting the 12 o'clock entry. Possibly, maybe not. But... All right, let's go back here. Okay, so we're starting to get somewhere. Still not crazy about it, but let's keep this at 3 because that was kind of my assumption anyway. 5 was coming in the best as the offset, but 4, 5, 5. So the most trades was here with 5. Interesting. This one had a lower requirement for the bar size. ATR, ERC minimum 1. Yeah. So 1.4. 3, 4, 2, 2, 4. Yeah, let's leave this at 3. And then entry offset, I do still want to test again, but I want to add maybe looking at the stop as a consideration and tagging that against these settings. So let's go stop offset 0 to 30, but by 5s. Let's see if this can give me more. Yeah, that's not terrible. 105. While we're waiting on this, anybody have any questions? Anything I can answer for you while we're kind of waiting for this to come through? Right. So a little bit more profit on that one versus the last. Not a ton more, but all right. So what are our settings here? We could probably lock these in. So 5 offset, and then 1.4 was still the best here, so we'll go with it. Stop. Let's see if we can maybe get a little bit even more defined with it. What the heck? Let's go 0 to 30 by 1, but just that setting. See if there's anything that really stands out as a good number for us. Same numbers, nothing different. So we'll leave that at 30. And let's see. All right, now let's go in and test the trailing. trail trigger and offset. All right, so let's go anywhere from 15 to 30 as a trigger. And then offset anywhere 15 to 30 as a trail. And then let's go ahead and try to do that. True. I think that should be good to go. Cool. Let's run it.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
So earlier we were talking about how that one trade that was delayed because of the open position and it entered on the same bar that the
Mm-hmm.
exit was. Um, anyway, I've just been looking at that, and I think the way you mitigate that is you disable the setting that says allow entries on exit bars.
Sure. Yeah.
So you might want to, next time you have access to the setting, you might want to just disable that. I think
Yeah.
that's what that is.
That's a good call. Yeah, that definitely will help, I think. Yeah, you'd have to be in separate accounts, most likely. You don't want to be, I mean, unless you're, turning one off when the other fires off a position, you'd have to be pretty quick on the pulse there, but otherwise, yeah, different accounts would be ideal. Again, the same issue applies if you're trading prop though, that you have to, if you have a long on one, you can't go short the other. So Almost there. Here we go. Jeez. All right, so let's go into the trail. See what we can find on the numbers. They're really not much different one from the other. So the number came in as trail trigger. Let's open these up. So trail trigger 29, trailing by 18. See if I can see what's going on. Trail 18, trigger 30, trigger 29, trail 19, 1930, 2920, 3020. Let's make it an even number. We'll just go 3020. All right. There it is. I'm like, where the heck is the friggin' thing? All right. So that's fine. Let's go into time of day. Looks good. Still 57 trades, not a ton of trades. I'd like to see more. Let's optimize for the EMA period. We'll go anywhere from 8 to 50. We'll just go by one. It shouldn't take too long if that's the only thing we're testing. I just couldn't resist. We do this all the time. I'm like, I need some Jeopardy music.
Oh, man.
There we go. All right, there's enough of that. Still the same. Not much of a difference. 22 coming in at the best. I would just leave it at 20. I don't think it's any different. Like $10 different. So that's fine. Leave it at 20. What else? I mean, what else can we test on this thing? Let's test for targets or no targets. So this one has a target of 1.1. squeeze just a little bit more out of it. All right, let's go back up here. And let's enter multiple. Target 2 is just going to be 0. Oh yeah, gotta have at least one thing to optimize. All right, what the heck? Optimize a minimum target, or a minimum stop rather. So what am I missing here? Let's see.
Jim, is this just 2 weeks look back?
Yeah, it's only 2 weeks.
What? So in the last 2 weeks, been in a downtrend, right?
Let's see.
Because the reason what I'm noticing is that all of the profits on the short side.
Mm-hmm. And as of recently, it's not as good. We've had increased volatility over the past week or so. That's
Yeah,
playing
all your
into this as
profit is on
well.
the short. So, and your EMA setting in the signals is just short. It's a short term, right? What was it? What's your setting?
Like 20.
Okay. You might layer, like add another EMA or step MA for a longer term
Mm-hmm.
moving average filter to keep out a lot of the long trades in a big downtrend. I don't know. Just
Yeah,
thought.
yeah, for sure. Let's turn off the required. And then let's go down.
I mean, you can do both too. Just it's
Yeah, no,
not a
I'd
problem.
rather look at something else.
Okay.
Let's, um, all right, so require, we're gonna put true. Is it level or trend? I can't remember which does what.
Well, level just means is the entry above the line or below the line?
And then what's trend?
Trend is if you look at the step line, it if it's an uptrend, it either is flat or going up. And in a downtrend, it's either flat or going down. So you only trade based on the last time it changed direction.
Gotcha.
So, you can still get a short above the line if you're in a downtrend with the trend
Mm-hmm.
setting.
Right.
That's the difference.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Okay.
Sometimes I'll turn both on just to see which one does better.
Yeah. Step MA, single, require true. All right, let's try 10 to 20 and see what we get on that. Hmm.
You could try higher step sizes.
Yeah, the 10 was the best. What is this one? Let's see if it'll show me. No, can't see it. Too
Because
many
you're still getting
settings.
all your profits on the short side.
Yeah. Interesting. Maybe a bigger average.
I mean, if you
Okay,
just, yeah, just a bigger trend.
let's try dual EMAs and see. It could just be that maybe crude on a volume chart isn't the greatest thing to run this thing on. You don't know until you try, right? So this is a lot of this is trial and error. Um, Here, let's run them against each other. Stepping versus dual. If it'll let me. There it goes. Step size 1, step size 2. Oh, it'll only let me do 2. All right, skip it. So we know the stepping gave us about 2,200. We've got the numbers down here. So no trades. Interesting. All right, let's try some bigger steps too. Let's go 20 to 30.
Go higher. Just try
Is
it.
it ticks that it's stepping up by?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just the number of ticks the price has to deviate from the line to adjust the line.
Right.
And in a big downtrend, maybe you need a bigger number. That's what I was wondering.
Mm-hmm. Not great. Let's do this. How many iterations was that? I don't remember.
Try both. You can also try both trend and level at the same time. I mean, it'll double the number of iterations.
That's exactly what I was going to do. If I can find it. So many things. So many things. Step MA. Step MA. Where the hell
It's
am
right
I?
below step size.
Freak.
No.
44. That's not too bad.
Is anything above 20 ticks on crude just considered big for you in your mind? Is that what you're
Yeah, I
thinking?
think so. I mean, with a 1 minute type of volume bar, you're probably looking at around 10 ticks, give or take. So I don't
Okay.
want to get too big on it.
I am running to be president of.
I don't care. Leave me alone. I clicked something on the YouTube where I had the Jeopardy thing and it started yelling at me. Click out of that and go. All right, so we got a little bit better numbers starting to creep up a little bit at a time. 14 with obviously trend is probably going to be the way to go. And this came in as level, not trend. Level 14. Okay. All right. So let me save this first before we get too far. And let's go back a little bit further now. And let's also optimize data series. So we're going to go from 350 to 550. And just for fun, let's go by 25s. There we go. So it's got to download each of these charts first, I'm assuming. 450 it is. We have something else set to optimize in here still, because I got two of the same. We do here. Anyway, that's fine. Let's
Does
save
your
it.
moving average have more than one option
I don't know.
setting?
I'm just going to go back to the back test and then save it this way. Minimum
Okay.
13. There we go. Yeah, tough day today. I wonder what it looks like without today, just to see what the numbers look like. Because if today's kind of an anomaly, there was some news this morning that came out. Wonder if that's kind of impacting things a little bit. Markets were kind of wild today. I don't know if anybody traded, but at 1.4, decent for a month's worth of trading. It's not terrible to have half 2-to-1 drawdown versus profits. Not terrible. It's not ideal, but it's a good starting point. This one would need to be optimized some more. We can go back a little further too, just to see what it looks like. The other thing too, I don't have any dates in here for excluding, so So while this is going, let's take a quick look at a gold chart. I'm not going to go into the depths of optimizing and all that, obviously, but I am curious what it looks like at least. So that'll give us at least a starting point, something we can look at. 200. Yeah, still pretty decent, even going back to June. This date was 7/3. Obviously, that would be one that we would look to exclude because it was closed early that day, that kind of thing. So, and when you look at it that way, that's really pretty decent. Where's the thing here? Let's add a few dates in here. 7/3 and add 7/4. I don't think it would have taken any trades anyway, or whoops, not 8/4. Run that through one more time. Cool. Let's check this out. We'll change the time to 8:25. No. Let's leave that on. You know what? I forgot to turn that off on the other settings too. For a 2-month sample, that's not terrible. Let's go in and disable that because I forgot to do that. Should have started with gold, guys. Should have started with gold. Where were you on this one? Live and learn, right? Sometimes you try things and you're like, meh. And then you try something else, you're like, whoa, that's a big difference. I like that. Gold's kind of crazy though, like when it hits, it moves. And that's why I was curious to look at it. The other one I'd be curious to look at is RTY, because that's another one that can just go bonkers when there's a big something going on. Yeah, we obviously haven't messed with settings on RTY yet, but I think that's another good one if you're looking for markets to try. I think RTY is probably a good one. That'll give you some good moves. Right now, for this one, stop might be a little tight, actually. Maybe not. Very active. Probably a little too active. You'd need to fine tune that a little bit. Let's go back to GC. Um, that actually made things worse. Interesting. All right, let's go back to this one. Cool. So we'll just save this. So this was, wasn't a great outcome on this one. I think this one would still need some more work yet, but at least it gives you some idea of some of the back and forth that you can do with the algo and going through some optimizations. Hopefully you got something out of that. Really, this one we should just go in and save it as a starting point because it looks like there's something here. So we'll call this GC starting point. We don't have time to go through and optimize this together, but there's definitely something there. Let's add some more days to it and see what it looks like over a longer period of time. This is only 5 days. Let's go custom. Let's see what that looks like. We'll give it a minute to load. All right, let's go here. Weird. Very weird. Do I have the wrong fractal? Was gold? Yeah, 200. That's what we just had. I don't know. I still think there's something here on gold. I think give it a go, guys, and go through, see what you can come up with. I may tinker with this a little bit if I have time and see what I
It's a
come
lot
up
of
with.
trades.
It is, yeah, it's very active. Probably too active, right? But we could certainly filter some of those. Yeah, I think there's something pretty decent there. So I think let's go ahead and call it, guys. Hopefully you got something out of this and give you some kind of insight on going about using this thing. But the settings that we already have look great. So obviously run with those. But if you're curious to branch out and look at some other settings, that's a good way to go about it and gives you some idea there. So cool. Anybody have any questions before we go? Anybody need anything? A quiet group today. Really quiet group. That's all right.
Hey, I'd like to mention something.
Yeah, go for it.
So you had mentioned that, we were playing with that trailing template for MES.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what I found was, it was a pretty good result, but then I ran it for today. I extended it to today and it was a loss today. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because of the big announcement and the market kind of went a little haywire. And so I wanted to test and see, well, maybe it's not that the settings are all that bad. It's just that the volatility increased. And so now
Mm-hmm.
my extended range candle needs to be something larger to be worth doing.
Right.
So I just tested only that setting, the minimum size for the extended range candle.
Mm-hmm.
And when I bumped it up a little bit, then suddenly today became a winner instead of a loser. So that's
Yeah.
probably one of the first places to look at if your template has been working, and then suddenly because of some big market announcement or some big event and the volatility increases, start
Yeah.
increasing that, start changing the size of the minimum, well, the range, but the minimum size is the one that's really matters.
Right.
And so just increasing it on a day like today made it work. So that's
Sure.
probably one of the first places to look. That's the main point of what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great idea. Thanks for sharing that. That's good to know. And it makes sense, because every bar is going to be big on those type of events. So that makes a lot of sense. Cool. I don't know. Do we have here? Let me see if I have this.
I have it here. If you don't, let me see if I have.
Yeah, let me copy the link. You won't be able to edit the document, so just make a copy for yourself. But this has conversions on range, volume, and so on.
Do you have the new one that Sean did
Mm-hmm.
updated? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So cool. Yeah, good stuff. No worries. All right, guys. We'll have a good weekend, and we'll see you back on Monday in the trade rooms and such. But if you need anything, reach out and we'll be happy to help. So enjoy the weekend. Thanks for coming out. Of course, thanks as always for your business, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. It said to increase the minimum bar size based on the ATR multiple. So increase minimum bar size. Yeah. Cool deal. All right, guys. Have a good one. Cheers.